Walking, climbing, more climbing, always higher. And for what?
The mystery of Mallory and Irvine is etched into some of the most remote, unforgiving terrain on Earth. Unless you've set foot on Everest, it's almost impossible to know where each critical clue lies, from the location of the ice axe that was found in 1933 belonging to Sandy Irvine, to the location of George Mallory's remains that were discovered in 1999. And we'll lead it right up to the discovery of Sandy Irvine's boot and foot on the Rongbuk Glacier in October of 2024.
What happened on Everest? Your most plausible theory. I know you don't know, nobody knows, but what's your best guess?
As you know, and as I've written in my book, there is a critical piece of data, and that is this sighting by Noel Odell at 12:50 p.m. on that day of what he believed to be Mallory and Irvine at a point which was what we now call the third step. At that point, they were approximately 600 vertical feet below the summit. And modern climbers know that there is no obstacle of any consequence between the third step and the summit.
George Mallory and Andrew Irvine began their summit attempt from Camp 6, situated at 8,170 meters on the North Ridge. They ascended a path slightly lower and to the right of the modern route. After 2.5 hours of climbing, they reached the first step. To avoid the technical second step, they ascended the Norton Couloir in a zigzag traverse. Past the third step and on the upper snow slopes, they were sighted by Noel Odell at 12:50 p.m., going strongly for the top. Based on their pace and the sighting, they would have reached the summit by around 4 p.m. They then attempted to descend via the same route. Traversing back to the first step, they continued downward until fate caught up with them. They fell and died in the death zone. Irvine's body was sighted higher up in 1975. Mallory's body was found in 1999 below that point, along the fall line.
His body appears to be mummified. There's rope around his waist. You can see the metal cocks, bottom of his boot. And that boot, the leg, is angulated fracture. So first guess is that he took a fall. Again, you can see rope around his body. Okay, these are the collar. Here, wait, this is George Mallory. Really? George Mallory. Oh my God. Oh my God. See that? George Mallory. Oh my God.
We expected that this is Andrew. Following that story below the ice axe, Andrew Irving's ice axe.
For decades, the fate of Sandy Irvine has been shrouded in speculation and mystery, even misdirection. But now, new evidence is emerging that could rewrite what we thought we knew.
Thom, first things first, what was your initial reaction when you heard that some of the remains of Sandy Irvine had been found on Everest?
It was interesting. When you think about the fact that a foot gets ripped off, that's pretty severe. So, but Irvine did not fall. He lay down in a little, they call it a crevice, but it was a slot. There were 3 people who saw him. And I think the latest one was still in the 90s. And they spotted the body, and they're the ones who said that he lay on his back and he was upside down in the sense of his head was pointing downhill.
It was you and I and Renan. We all decided that the intel was pretty solid, enough so that we were willing to risk our lives to see if we could figure this out, to see if Sandy was there. And I got to those GPS coordinates, and that's one of the most wild things I've ever done. And he wasn't there. And, we had heard a few rumors going into it that, hey, the Chinese already found Sandy. This person who had contacts with the Chinese Tibet Mountaineering Association told our guide, Jamie McGinnis, yeah, it's not rumor. This actually really did happen.
2008 was the year of the Beijing Olympics. I had an expedition planned to go to the north side. We talked with the China-Tibet Mountaineering Association, CTMA. I slipped in, a leading question. When was the body taken? When was Irvine's body taken off? And he said, oh, no, it was taken off. His exact wording was thrown off the mountain a lot earlier than that.
If the body had been discovered there and then was thrown off from that location, the body would have continued going 8,000+ feet down, or about 3,000 meters straight down the north face to the beginning of the central Rongbuk Glacier. Given that the glacier moves slowly downhill, it's estimated that the boot could have been as far as 2 miles or more downstream from the bottom of the north face of Everest.
And I imagine that the rest of Irvine's body is not far away, possibly no more than a few meters, together with any artifacts that he may have had on him.
We care, and the reason why we care is because it's history. It's about the spirit of adventure. It's about mountaineering. It's about Chomolungma. And it just kind of gives us an excuse to have our lives revolve around this cool thing.